What's up, YouTube? There it is, the boneless pork shoulder butt, pork butt, whatever you want to call it. I bought this at Costco for $1.99 a pound. That means I got a 16 pound pork butt right here, and we're actually going to do 2 of them, so that's got to be right around 30 pounds of pork shoulder that will make delicious pulled pork. I've done this recipe, probably my 7th time, I think, that I've done this, and so it's come out really good every time. We cook it over here on this large Traeger. You can see I've got a pan in there with some water. Later, after we inject the pork, it'll have a little overflow, and we'll take everything that doesn't stay in the pork shoulder, we'll throw it in there, so it'll kind of make a steam bath for the pork shoulder. In here, we have the recipe for the injection. So a quart of apple cider, we're doubling this, so we're going to do 2 quarts of apple cider, 2 teaspoons of Tabasco. I'm kicking up the apple cider vinegar a little bit. 1/8 of a cup of lemon juice, double that. I'm going to put a little bit more brown sugar, so I'm going to not quite double that. And then we're going to do the juice of some oranges, Worcestershire sauce, some salt, and some Dave's Insanity sauce. So I've already got the apple cider and the apple cider vinegar and the Tabasco and the lemon juice and brown sugar in here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze a few oranges. And so what we're going to do in a second is I'll mix this all up to melt that brown sugar down in the salt, and then we're going to inject it into the pork butt. And I like to do the injection right into the pork butts while they're still in the bag, the Costco wrapping, and that kind of tends to hold it all in there. I think it might actually help it with helping the injection kind of push in, because it has almost a little pressure on it when I do them in those bags, and it's much cleaner. And then once that is all completed, then we'll just when we open up those bags, we'll just take the the overflow and just throw it away. We'll actually put it in that pan that's in the smoker underneath, so it'll be helping with the bath of water. So that's all of our orange juice, and then we've got 1/8 of a cup of Worcestershire sauce, and we're doubling that, so that'll make a 1/4 cup, so about half of this right here. Actually, it's a full 1/4, so I don't like that flavor a lot. So put some of that in there, and then last but not least, just a little bit of salt. I don't have a measurement for that, but that's probably about right. We'll just stir this all up, and then we'll go outside and inject it in just a second. Pause. Okay, here we go. All right, so now we've got that injection all mixed up. I'm just using this injector, and I just, like I said, I just do this in the bag itself. I kind of come in at an angle so I know I don't get the little plastic piece in there, and I try to do it, just kind of. I don't put too many holes in it, but I do try to take it at every angle I can conceive of. And we're just going to go until all of this injection is inside the shoulder here. And you'll see how some of it kind of comes out, and that's why I like to do it in the bag, because the bag holds a lot of this in there, and I think kind of keeps the pressure on and keeps it marinating. I usually do this for a couple of hours, and then I do it right in these little silver pans, so that any overflow just gets caught in these pans, and then we'll take that overflow and just dump it in the water bath in there, so that part of that water bath is apple juice and all the good stuff that we just put in the rub. I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes, but several of the online recipes, when they make their water bath, they say to throw a cup of apple juice in there, so I figured why not use this that's coming out of here. Now, I've seen a few people say that when they make their pork shoulder, they rinse it off. I've never rinsed these, but because it kind of ends up being immersed in this apple cider injection, you see it just kind of ends up being a bag of liquid. Then when I pour that off of there, and I can even just pour a little additional apple cider over the top of it if you're concerned about making sure it's got a rinse Some people will pull these out of here and rinse them with water, but I'm not sure that that's really doing too much. But if that's a concern of yours or a process, you can certainly do that. I'll usually leave it in here for just a couple of hours because I do like to let it soak overnight with the rub. Or not soak overnight, but I like to let it sit overnight when I put the rub on. And but you definitely want it to sit for a while in this injection so that it can, it can move its way through the meat. And we'll keep going on this, and we'll pick up as soon as all the injection is done and we're ready to do the rub. Since we're up in... Now we're getting ready to make the glaze and the sauce. So again, here's the recipe. A little bit of apple cider vinegar, ketchup, Tabasco, salt, pepper, sugar, pepper flakes. So we're just going to throw that all in here, and then we're going to heat it up tomorrow to dissolve. So I'm going to get it ready tonight, so it's all ready to go tomorrow, because I already have the apple cider vinegar. So we'll just take some ketchup and ingredients, put them in here, and then tomorrow, when the 12 hours of cooking is done, we'll have it all ready to go. So right now it is 4 in the morning, and I am just starting the smoker up. That's our sauce for later today. Just kept it outside last night. It's cold. There's our bath with the extra juice from the pork. I'm just getting the smoker started. It's literally 4 in the morning, and I just woke up just 2 minutes ago. There's one tray of the pork shoulders right there. Just been sitting in the fridge overnight. Yeah, so there it is, 4 a.m. Here are our pork shoulders. You can see I missed the step where I made the rub and put it on. My phone battery actually died. Sorry about that, but pretty easy to see what happened. We just took these out of the plastic wrap that they were in and let them drain off a little bit. And then I just liberally applied that rub all over. So the rub, lots of sugar and spices. As you could see, it was cumin, there was sugar, there was salt, pepper. And then I let it set overnight. If you look down in here, you can see there's a little bit of liquid in the bottom. That some of that injection will continue to kind of seep out of it. These have some of the fat cap up. Some people say it matters, some people say it doesn't. I don't pay too much attention to it. If I had it to do over again, I would have set these in here the other way, because the rub doesn't stick very well to that fat cap. So, I try to get the bark the best on the other side, and because there is a little bit of liquid that comes out, there won't be as much rub on that side. I'll just put these upside down in the smoker, and then pour a little of that liquid over the top of it, because it does have a lot of that rub melted into the liquid. Yeah, but that's it. Let's get them on the smoker. Well, there they are on the barbecue. We just took them out of their pans, poured a little of that liquid over the top. It's almost like a syrup at this point. I did put that fat cap down just so this side could be up and kind of get some bark on it. Now we're going to turn this up to 225. Close the lid and... All right, it's about 6:15 right now. Our temp has been hovering right around 225, and let's take a look. So they've been going for just a little over 2 hours, and yeah, starting to get a little bit of change in color. One thing we'll do, I had saved some of this, some of the injection. And I'm just gonna put a little of this. This is the apple juice, mainly some apple cider vinegar. It'd be better if I had a spray bottle for this, but I'm just gonna put a little bit of that on top of everything, keep it from drying out too much. And then I'll come back in a little bit and I will throw some more water in that pan for the bath, and that'll really help keep things moist while it cooks. Sometimes, you know, it's a long cook, and sometimes it's hard for me at work to make sure that's full, and I've noticed that it's much better if I can keep that all the way full all day, at least while it's uncovered. So we are at the point now where I am going to cover these pork shoulders. It's about just a little after 7:30. They've been in the smoker now for a little over 3.5 hours. And so I'm actually going to put them in here with a little rack. You can see the little rack down in there. I just put these in here to just give them a little bit of clearance above the bottom of the pan. When these cook, they'll release a lot of juices. And I like to just keep them out of the juices, and I think they just have a little bit better chance to make bark that way. So just that little clearance gives a lot of room for the juices to go somewhere. So we'll put them both in there like that. Now the water bath isn't quite as important because the pork shoulders are going to be covered. I'm going to pour about a cup of apple juice inside these pans, and then I'm going to wrap them, completely seal them up with tin foil, and then put a thermometer in, and then they're just going to cook like that for the most of their cook cycle. I will uncover them for the last half hour, so that we can put that last little glaze on there, and then let them rest. But right now I'm just going to put a little apple juice in there and then cover them up with tin foil. And there they are, all wrapped up. And I'll stick a thermometer in there in a thick part of the meat a little later today when I come back to check on them. And I'm just going to go off to work, leave the smoker running. I'm going to have to come back. Don't forget, that you're going to have to probably go through more than a hopper of pellets to get through the whole smoke. At this point, really, it should have taken most of the smoke that it's going to take, because now the smoke's getting prevented from going inside by the tinfoil wrap. So you could probably finish these off in the oven. I just never done it that way. All right, it's like 11 o'clock, 11:30. Just coming home on lunch break to fill up the pellets. I actually just ran out, but the smoker was still going, so I've cranked it up a little bit just to push the pellets in. And let's take a look at how these are doing. Watch out for steam. Yeah, there we go. You see what I'm talking about with all that moisture in there, all those juices. So that's why I use those racks, to get them just a little bit up above above that. And what I'm going to do is I am going to take a thermometer. Got one right here. Just a little thermometer. And the way to do this is really get it in the thickest part of your biggest piece. This is pretty close to my biggest, so I'll just stick it right in there and turn this on. What we're looking for is a temperature of 205. So right now it's at 122. Or wait, no. We're at a temperature of 183. So that's just about right. It's so we've got about 5 more hours of smoking, and my target, I want to be at 200 to 205. And a lot of times it will hit what's called the stall, and I can't remember what that temperature is. A lot of times it's at like 165 to somewhere around in here. And and that's where the meat just kind of stalls out, and you'll watch it, it'll just stay there for a long time. Let's take a look at this one. I think this one's got the biggest shoulder in it. That's probably the biggest one back there. So we'll just put the meat thermometer in there, and where are we at? About the same. So good. Really not too much need to put in more apple juice. There's plenty of liquid in there. You can see the steam coming off of it. These are going to be really good. I probably could have gone a little bit longer on the smoke just to get a little bit more bark. But these will be really good. You see there's some good bark there. And then when I go ahead and pull these out of the pans and uncover them for that last half hour, that'll help put a little bit of bark on them too. And I might go maybe more like an hour. You don't want to go too long. You don't want them to dry out is kind of the main thing. So I may throw a little more apple juice in here just because some of those juices, a lot of that's fat, and I want to make sure they don't dry out. I want to make sure they're nice and moist. So anyway, I will do that now. I'll go get a little bit of apple juice, put it in there, and put these back in. Cook them for probably about another 3 or 4 hours. They'll get to 200, and then we'll just let them rest. So here we go. I am just heating up this, what I've been calling the glaze, or the dipping sauce. I use a little each. So right at the end, that last half hour, I will use some of this to just kind of put it on the, on the pork shoulder with a brush. And then, but really, after I pull it, I'll pour this in. About half of it I'll pour in with the pulled pork and stir it up. And then I will set some of this on the side so people can just kind of squirt it on to their, pulled pork or pulled pork sandwiches if they want a little extra zing. It is mainly a vinegar, apple cider vinegar based sauce. So there's the recipe again. A cup of apple cider vinegar. Of course, I tripled it this time. Last time I doubled it because I had a double batch and I just felt like I could use a little bit more sauce, so I actually tripled this. You get a quarter cup of ketchup, or sorry, half cup of ketchup. A little bit of hot sauce. I didn't end up putting any of the Dave's in this time. It's pretty hot, and the folks I'm cooking for, I don't think are going to want it that hot. Some salt, pepper, and some pepper flakes, and then quite a bit of sugar. And yeah, you just kind of heat it up to dissolve that sugar. I'm going to show the recipe again for the whole thing because that's pretty much it. So, the injection, there it is, a quart of apple cider. That's just apple juice. It says apple cider. Apple juice is just as good. The Tabasco. Like I said, this time I just about doubled the apple cider vinegar to try that out. Really like that flavor, and I wanted to see how it would be if to put a little bit more of that in the injection. The lemon juice. Actually put a little lime in because I ran a little low. Brown sugar. I use those little oranges from Costco. They really have a good flavor. Worcestershire sauce and a little salt. So that was the injection. And then there's the rub again. Like, you didn't see me mix it up, so I just mixed it all up. I tripled the batch, so I ended up doing a cup and a half of the turbinado sugar. 4 teaspoons of actually I just doubled this up I didn't triple it. So I just had a cup of sugar, 4 teaspoons of salt, 4 teaspoons of the granulated garlic. I actually had some granulated onion, so I put that in there too this time. A little cumin, a little cayenne. I can't remember. I might have forgotten the cumin. I can't remember. I definitely did the chili powder and the paprika and the pepper. So we'll see if it has a different flavor this time around. Here's the quick instructions. I think you've seen me do all this. I did let that pork sit for 2 hours after I injected it, and that just lets the injection work its way through the meat. And then I cut those bags off, let it drain for a little bit because it kind of continues to release some of that injection. Poured the overflow out into that pan. I told you that. I did smoke it at 225 for just about exactly 3.5 hours. I think 4.5 might have been the sweet spot. I do like the bark, and it looked like it could have used maybe another hour to get the bark on there. It doesn't build the bark as well once it's inside the pans. Yeah, did put apple juice in the pans. I put more than a cup. I think I put probably a cup and a half to start, and I put another cup in just now when I came home. And then, like it says there at the end, put on with glaze, smoked uncovered for 15 minutes, shut off smoker and let it sit for 1 hour. So you definitely do want to let this meat rest. You know, sometimes I'll let it sit in the smoker, but a lot of times I've got this warming drawer down here on my oven, and I'll just put it down in there at keep warm temperatures and just let it kind of sit. My understanding is that letting the meat rest like that does let the juices kind of go back into the meat. You don't really need to let this boil, I don't think. This is that sauce, but it's probably okay if it did a little. We'll just whisk that up. Get that, basically you're just kind of melting that sugar in, and that's ready to go. I got this got this ready a little earlier than normal this time around. Yeah, so next steps, we just wait until it hits the 200. We'll let it rest for at least an hour, and then we'll pull it apart. And right before I serve it, I'm going to be taking it to a venue. Right before I serve it, I will put this sauce on it, about half of it, and mix it up. And that way it just stays on the surface. It's such a good tasting sauce with that vinegar base. And then I will save some of this so people can put a little bit on right as they get ready to eat it. I usually bring some white Costco buns so people can have pulled pork sandwiches, but about only a third of people are usually going for the bun. In my experience, a lot of people just go right for the pulled pork, and that's all they have. So, all right, I'll see you as soon as it's ready to pull the pork off. Here's the pan that the pork just came out of. You see all those drippings that come out of the pork. Amazing amount. And I've just got them on, pulled them out of the pans, and I've just got them on here. Put a little of that glaze on there, you can see, just to do a quick, the temperature hit about 199, so I'm pretty close to the temp I want, and I've still got a while to hold these. So I will probably just let them smoke for maybe 15 minutes, just to kind of set that glaze on there, and then I'll pull them off. And then I will set them in the warming drawer inside the pans again, and just keep them. And I will probably set them in a fresh, new, clean pan that I'm going to wash out just for presentation. And those drippings, I might add a little bit of that back in just for because they are pretty good. The drippings are good, but you know it's too much fat to stir it all together. But a little bit of drippings might give it a little extra flavor and moisten it a bit. So in combination with that, and then our super secret sauce here, it's just going to be unbelievably yummy. See you soon. There it is, YouTube. That is the pulled pork. It's been sitting in the warming drawer. You can see there's a little bit of sauce still on it. That's what it amounts to, and you can just see it just comes apart just as easy as can be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this all apart, and then once I've got it separated kind of like that, I'm going to go ahead and pour in that sauce, the dipping sauce, and it's going to be really good. And you can see that bark, just good pieces of bark. They'll all get mixed together and kind of get a little bark and a little dipping sauce. And I also took the drippings out and just took the fat off the tops. It makes a pretty good drippings. I'll pour a little in here just to moisten this, just to make it a little bit more moist. So anyway, that I'll show you what it's like when it's all done. Well, I had intended to show you what it was like when it was all done, but my phone battery died, so I mixed it all together and took it to the event that I had planned to serve it, and this was what came back. I also had one just larger piece that I froze and put that in the freezer, so it freezes just fine, so you can have pulled pork at some other date, and then we'll keep this in the fridge, and it'll make great sandwiches, and we'll just kind of have it as leftovers. Hey, thanks for watching. If you got a Costco in your area, now you know just how to make a great pulled pork out of the pork shoulders that they always have there. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you somewhere down the road.